Good morning. This is the Sharing Whale, and today's guest is Amy Smith, my neighbor.
Yeah. Hi,
Welcome,
Sean.
welcome, Amy.
Thank you very much. It's nice to be here.
This awesome new space. And Amy and I, my family, Rory and Natasha and Michelle, we met you at the talent show we had at our house, and you were invited by maybe someone who's going.
Peggy Stedman was going, and she invited me to come along. Yeah.
And so you decided to do an act.
Yes, I did. Well, Terry, who's the MC, came up and asked me, hey, do you have a talent? And I was like, well, yeah, I guess I do. And so I can make a chicken out of a dish towel. And so that's what I did. And to this
day, very successful.
There are people who call me the chicken lady. So, yeah.
That's that was wonderful. It's the perfect talent show kind of act,
Yeah, and I've done it internationally because a lot of the workshops that I do will do a talent show, and so
oh my gosh,
it transcends borders. So even in Uganda, just like 2.5 weeks ago,
wow,
I did,
no kidding,
I did the chicken in a dish towel and got a round of applause. Yeah.
Wow, yeah. Wow, so. That's awesome. Love it. And then after getting to know you, I discovered that you're a fan of the Muppets.
Yes, I'm a pretty big Muppet fan, as you can see by this small portion of my Muppet Show paraphernalia collection that I brought with me. But I'm a big Muppet Show fan.
And when did take us to the beginning?
Yeah, so they came out in the mid 70s, I think around 1974, and it was end of junior high, beginning of high school for me, and they're just so magnificently quirky. Like it just really appealed to my sense of humor and my sense of immaturity. I remember I didn't, they have superlatives at the end of high school, and one of them is the class underclassman, which means, the person who nobody realizes is actually a senior, and I was nominated for that, and and when I turned 16, a friend of mine threw me a birthday party, but instead of it being as if I was turning 16, she made it as if I was turning 6, and so we had like a 6-year-old birthday party for me, and it couldn't have been better for me. I would not have enjoyed a sweet 16 party, but boy, did I like a 6-year-old party, and and actually she had gotten a Muppet Show theme for the cake and the decorations, which is what gave her the idea, because she just thought this is not normal, and so anyway, and so I think they played on Tuesday nights, and I would just religiously watch them, and they're so first of all very clever, unique, and they brought in such an interesting array of guests on the show that that it was never the same, but there were threads that tied it together, and and I really appreciated them. And when I applied to college, we were supposed to write an essay about a fictional character. So I wrote about Gonzo the Great, and because he really, to me, exemplified resilience and persistence, and a certain level of eccentricity. So the fact that he would tap dance on oatmeal or recite Shakespeare while hanging by his nose from a feather boa. These were all just normal things for Gonzo, and I was never particularly mainstream, and so I just really appreciated his his just being himself. And in fact, one of the best quotes from the Muppet, the live show that I went to in Hollywood, the Muppets Take the Bull, was when Bobby Moynihan, who was the human host, said to Gonzo, "It's okay to be weird." And Gonzo said, "It's not okay, it's awesome." And I just, that attitude was something that, I felt like it was something I needed. Junior high was not the happiest time of my life. I mean, just regular teenage angst, not not anything momentous, but they just brought such a spark of joy. And then and then I stayed with it and got a little obsessed. But yeah, I figured it's not a bad thing to
Sure.
to be obsessed with joy.
Oh,
So,
yeah, right. Yeah. So, how many other like merchandise do you have at the house?
Yeah, I mean, I have a whole wall of pictures from the Hollywood Bowl show, and I
Okay.
think we'll probably talk about that a little
Okay,
bit
you
later.
brought some
but
pictures.
I can, yeah.
Yeah.
I have more than this, but these are the 3 who I brought with me to California to watch the show. So on the far end, I have the Muppet Labs, but in my kitchen, I have the Swedish Chef kitchen, and I have a few other
Yeah.
of those as well.
cool. Fun.
A variety of T-shirts. This is one we made ourselves of the Electric Mayhem for a volleyball tournament, but I have
and
others.
that's the band. Right?
That's the band, yeah.
Yeah.
And we decided, so each of us were one of the band members, and so I actually learned to play saxophone because I thought so much of Zoot, who's right
Really?
here.
So awesome.
And then my
Wow.
teammates were Animal and Electric Dr. Teeth.
Love it.
So we each colored in the person who we were. And we loved these shirts and we wore them, and it wasn't until, I don't know, months later that we realized we had actually spelled mayhem wrong. And it didn't say Electric
Well,
Mayhem, it
that's
says
mayhem, right?
Electric
Right.
Mayhem. But in any case,
Yeah,
we,
right. That's-
to this day, I love the shirt.
Yeah.
And,
Fun. So, so like fast forward, you mentioned that you went to the Hollywood Bowl,
Yeah.
and you brought your friends with you.
Yeah, yeah.
And so you get there, and it's pre-show. You're in the parking lot.
Yeah.
Did you go by car, or were you
Yeah,
dropped
so
off?
it was
or-
awesome.
Yeah.
I have a good friend who lives out in Pasadena.
Okay.
And he has an old Porsche,
Nice.
of
Nice.
course, bright red. And so
Perfect.
we drove up in his Porsche.
Yeah.
And we got there, and there are all these big posters, so we took pictures of ourselves. These poor guys had to go through a metal detector, so I have
Oh.
one picture of them just sort of
Oh,
going
gosh.
through on the conveyor belt. And when I had heard about it, I was like, oh, should I go? And then I just realized, yes, I should
Yeah,
absolutely go.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm very grateful, because I wasn't sure whether this was going to be the beginning of a tour, but it's actually the only live show they've ever done. And it was phenomenal.
Historic.
Yeah. It was really amazing. And so Gunther and I arrived in the bright red sports car, went through, and then we had bought, sort of seats that were close to the stage where we actually even had dinner. And so we had dinner. We were I'll show you some of the pictures I took there so you can see how close we were.
Okay, sure, yeah.
Yeah. So this is Zoot.
Nice.
And and I did have a zoom lens on the camera, but it was just a point and shoot camera. It was not that great. So
That's a good shot.
I have hundreds of photos.
And Zoot's on your shirt too?
Zoot's on the shirt too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
cool.
and he's also
Yeah.
my WhatsApp.
And you learned to play,
avatar.
he inspired you to play sax?
Yeah,
Cool.
I grew up playing flute, and then I wanted to be like him, so I learned to play the saxophone.
All right,
And then
cool.
I
Yeah.
played tenor sax in band, and then baritone sax later in the town band, and it was
Cool.
great. Yep. And then
Cool.
we have also Animal, another
Nice.
famous musician.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah, and you can even
Animal.
see the pixels on the LEDs. I mean, it
Yeah.
was
Yeah, yeah.
really cool. And
Yeah.
then this one
Yeah.
is Uncle Deadly, who is a little less known, but he was
Yeah.
in the more recent Muppet movies.
Okay.
And, and I have a whole wall of pictures from the show.
Yeah,
And
cool.
so we spent a lot of time oohing and awing as we
Yeah.
were enjoying our dinner, and we
Yeah.
were probably, I would say, there were in rows of tables. I would say we were maybe 12 or 15 tables back from the stage, which was a
Okay.
great
Yeah.
distance. And then the show started, and it was just amazing because, you could see the puppets. Normally you
Yeah.
don't see, the puppeteers. So
Yeah,
normally
yeah, all
you
dressed in
don't see
black.
them.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. And so on the Jumbotron, they shot it as if they were doing the TV show, right? So
Mm.
on the Jumbotron, you would see what it would look like if it were projected, but
Gotcha,
live,
right.
you would see them
Yeah,
underneath
yeah,
doing
yeah,
all
yeah,
these
right.
amazing things.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so it was such a great sort of snapshot into how it really works.
Mm-hmm,
And, honestly, I don't know if I've smiled that long consecutively in my life, but
Yeah.
it was just I mean, it was so good, and it was there was plenty of nostalgia, but also a lot of new things.
Yeah.
I mean, you can imagine how crazy everyone went when they played the Rainbow Connection at the end.
Yeah, right,
And they
right.
even had Paul Williams, who wrote it, come out and
Right,
perform
right,
with them.
yes, yeah.
So that was amazing. And and my friend thought it was a little maybe a little extravagant that I flew out from Boston to this show, but we were at the table next to us were people who had flown in from London. So
cool,
so I
cool.
was not even
Yeah.
close to the person who had traveled the farthest.
Yeah,
But I think I
right.
brought more Muppet
Your entourage.
toys with
Yeah,
me. Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Wow. And yeah, I mean, you kind of think about like the Beatles. Didn't the Beatles play Hollywood Bowl, I think? Or
I think so,
So,
yeah.
so that was historic. And
Yep.
the Muppets are historic. I mean, the impact on the culture is huge.
Yeah, it really was, and I think for a lot of people, they first of all, they model so many things, and especially on Sesame Street, more so than the Muppet Show, because on the Muppet Show, Crazy Harry blows things up all the time. So
Right,
there's a little more
Mayhem.
on the on the show. But on Sesame Street, there are so many really great lessons.
Oh, sure, yeah,
They
yeah.
just the degree to which they value each other and interact with each other, and the way they interact with
Yeah,
each other.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
so
Yeah.
I love that about them. And and I think because it was on Sesame Street and Sesame Street turned into such a big hit, they were they just hold I think they're in a very fond spot in many people's hearts.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I was researching, and I kind of, you had the memory of seeing it as a young kid,
Yeah,
and it's
exactly.
it's like, wow. And
Yeah. But it's
Yeah,
interesting because the Muppet Show and the Sesame Street Muppets don't interact very often.
oh, is it?
yeah.
Okay.
So,
Yeah,
Kermit is really the only one who is on
the
both.
kind of crossover.
Yeah. Although
Right.
when Muppet and Miss Piggy, when Kermit and Miss Piggy got married in the Muppet movie,
Right, right.
the Sesame Street gang came to the wedding.
Oh, okay.
And I remember being touched that
Right.
Big Bird was there at the big wedding. et
Right.
cetera. So, yeah.
Right. And we had mentioned that Jim Henson at his funeral, Big Bird sang at his funeral.
Yeah.
It ain't easy being green.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So you're at the Hollywood Bowl now. You're looking at like the LA skyline from like the parking lot. Can you see like the Hollywood sign there, or do you have any?
Honestly,
yeah, not sure.
I did not have eyes for that.
You weren't even.
I was in the Muppet
You
zone.
weren't, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, and I think once you're in, especially because we were down kind of low,
Yeah.
you have a lot of experience of the performance,
Yeah.
and the LA Symphony Orchestra was there playing live as well, so you saw that as well
That's
as
great.
the stage.
Yeah.
And it's a little, I feel like there's a bit of forest around it, maybe.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I did not feel like I was in LA.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so, what was it like? You get there, and there's, I mean, what's it, about 12,000 people there, or 10,000, or?
Gosh, it's hard to say because there's the seats, but then up above there's the, sort of the picnic area.
Yeah.
So I don't know the actual capacity, but a lot of people.
A lot of folks who
yeah.
who share your passion
Yeah.
for the Muppets. So it must have been like, what's that like being a fan of the Muppets, like solo, or your sister likes them as well.
Yeah.
But to be in, then all of a sudden you're like, wow, all these
Right.
other people with the same passion.
Yeah, no, I really enjoy when that happens. And there's a few times when that has happened to me in my life. So one was at the Hollywood Bowl, and and so many people there just have this fond love of the Muppets, right?
Right,
and
right,
know,
sure,
and some people are a little over the top. I might be one of those, but then, but also just, some people just thought, oh, this would be a fun thing to take my kids to, right? So you had a wide variety.
Right.
But it's kind of nice to have that shared experience. And then the two other times in my life I had that was one when I was a freshman at MIT, being in this environment where everybody loved math and science,
Yeah,
and everybody
right.
loved calculating
Right,
things, right? And
right.
that was not the case in my high school. There was a small group of us who were
right.
that way, but it
Yeah,
wasn't like
Yeah.
it wasn't like the norm
Sure,
per se.
sure, yeah.
And then the other thing was when I joined the Peace Corps, and you know, to be in this group of people where idealistic change makers, and that's what we were there to do. So that was and I've tried to create that experience in some ways through my work, through like the International Development Design Summits that I run. A lot of people comment that they love being there because even though people come from so many different backgrounds, there's this shared vision of, can we make the world a better place? Can we, for these few weeks, live the way the world should be? And so that dynamic, I think, is a really powerful thing. And yes, I was, it felt great to be in that environment there with the Muppets.
And so your lab here, that you were in an article where they made you look more like a scientist, right? You were saying in
the picture,
your
so
cloak there.
in the early days of D-Lab, the New York Times did an article on us, and that was really what launched D-Lab into the sort of the popular space where people knew about us. And so they wanted to do a photo shoot, and they had, like the person who wrote the article was super down to earth, and she shadowed me for a couple of weeks, and she wrote a great article. She really did. But the photographer was a little more over the top, flamboyant, etc. So she wanted, I had a pot with. So one of the things I invented is a way to do laboratory experiments with that require a constant temperature without electricity.
Okay.
So you need to boil this material and then it stays at that constant temperature. So they wanted a pot of boiling water, and they wanted this, and they wanted wrenches and all this stuff. And we shot it in the classroom where at the time I was teaching D-Lab, and it just felt ridiculous. They had us wearing lab coats and putting on safety glasses and just all this kind of stuff. And even they wanted it to look more dynamic. So like we just pulled in some of my students out of the hallway, like, hey, do you have 15 minutes to be in a shot? And so, so this kind of really posed thing. And I totally felt like it was the Muppet Labs. So then when I was doing my Christmas card that year, I decorated the Muppet Labs, and I cut out the picture of me from that article, and then put it in with Dr. Bunsen Honeydew and Beaker, and that was my Christmas card for the year.
That's awesome. It's amazing how the Muppets have influenced you, and it sort of goes back and forth. It's So, what was your favorite part of the event, of the performance?
It's hard. The whole thing was great, and there were a lot of things I really liked, but the thing that really sticks with me was one of the musical performances, and it was that song Home, and I honestly don't know who sings it in real life, but they did such a good job of it, and it had Janice and Floyd sort of, they're not as big names in the Muppet thing, but they're members of the band, and it really highlighted them, and it was a perfect song for them, and it's just a great song, and it's a cheerful song, and just sort of sitting back and enjoying the music, but also enjoying the visuals of the characters. So that was one thing. There was another thing where they did Mana Mana, which is one of their most famous songs, and that was really interesting because you got to see the way that the puppeteers or the Muppeteers moved around to create the images, because there's the Mana Mana guy, and then there's the boop 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 people, and so the Mana Mana guy keeps going back and forth, and so I think it's his name, Bill Butler, maybe. Anyway, so just seeing him as the person controlling it was. So I really enjoyed the musical numbers a lot.
I saw the clip of Miss Piggy, and they were like throwing her up in the air, but they had like two puppeteers controlling, like moving her, around.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So Miss
yeah.
Piggy is not my favorite Muppet. So
Oh,
I'm sure she
I'm
was
glad-
in it. I don't know, but
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
she's a little
So-
too much.
So who's, your favorite is,
So Gonzo and
Gonzo, excuse
Zoot
me.
are
Yeah, and
like
Zoot.
in a recent show they kind of they highlighted Zoot a little bit more, and I really didn't like the personality that they gave him.
Yeah.
On the Muppet Show, he never said more than a few words, and
yeah, yeah.
So I didn't like where they took him, but I've always loved and admired Gonzo.
Gonzo.
Yeah.
How many characters are there? Like probably about 30?
Oh no,
More?
there's hundreds.
Really? Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
I mean,
Wow.
not all of them are big name, but you
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
there's
yeah.
but there's a lot. I actually have a Muppet Show jigsaw puzzle.
Okay.
And I like to do it by looking at a piece and deciding, okay, who is this? Like whose nose is that? Whose piece of hair that is?
Yeah,
et cetera.
yeah.
And there's
Right.
at least 50 on that puzzle,
Wow.
and there, yeah,
Wow.
there's a lot
And I read it's in its 55th year
of Sesame Street.
of
Yeah.
Sesame Street, which is
Yeah.
different from the Muppets. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And then, are you a fan of Statler and Waldorf, or?
So I don't agree with their point of view, but but I think they certainly add variety to to the show.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Because at the show at the Hollywood Bowl, they did. I think they had like a video of them, but not an actual. Were they present there on the stage?
I'm trying to think.
'cause,
I know that they
like-
did have them appear on the screen, and
Yeah.
I'm just trying to. I don't think they had them
Yeah,
on
'cause, like,
on the
usually-
stage. Yeah,
Yeah.
but they might have.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't remember
Because
that.
I saw it like in clips, so yeah, I didn't see like a scene where like they were in a balcony looking down.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, which
kinda-
is their normal
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, commenting.
Yeah.
And,
A little
yeah,
while ago, they actually
Yeah.
did movie reviews where they would do, they would review, popular film. And-
Really?
yeah.
Kind of a
they had
Siskel and
Statler-
Ebert kind of thing?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. And so, what else about the experience that would you like to share?
Yeah, let's see. I think that so you talked about being with people who also appreciated the Muppets, but I
Yes,
think
yeah.
there was the thing that I always appreciate about the Muppets is the way that they bring a craziness, a wackiness, and a joyfulness.
Sure.
And that was so pervasive in the Hollywood Bowl at
Awesome.
that time.
Yeah, yeah,
It
yeah,
was,
yeah.
it was, and that was, there were some challenges in our day-to-day life in that time, and it was nice to have a place that was just so cheerful. you know?
Right,
Yeah.
right, yeah. It's like
Yeah.
its own little bubble reality in
Exactly.
a way. Yeah,
Yeah. And then it was nice to see some of the Muppets who, I haven't seen in a while. So Sam the American Eagle was there,
Oh.
and Scooter, of course, played a big
Scooter.
role.
Yeah,
as,
yeah.
And
Right.
Yeah. And I think it was funny because the premise was that the Muppet Show was a half-hour show, but then all of a sudden they find out that this is an hour and a half, and they're like, oh my God. And so they make the joke about speaking slowly to make it last the full time.
right.
And just, and so
Right,
that was
right.
sort of a running gag, and they,
Right.
they often had things
Yeah.
like that happen. Yeah.
And I think there was a scene where, was it Fozzie Bear that trying to get to the stage? They had like a video of him like, you're on. And
Yeah.
he's like trying to get to the stage and he's bumping into people and getting stuck
Oh,
in the
yeah.
elevator. So it took
Yeah.
like 2 minutes for him to actually get onto stage.
Right.
It was like a scene where they were doing like 2 minutes of jokes or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But fun. Yeah, it's it's so great to kind of check back in with the Muppets and what makes them fun. Everyone has a memory of it,
Yeah.
So it's so cool to kind of anchor into something that's positive,
Yeah.
So I appreciate you coming in and sharing the joy.
Oh, it's
your-
my pleasure.
Yeah, of the Muppets, and I'm so pleased that the your towel
Oh,
dish towel.
chicken, yeah.
actually has a world tour. Wasn't just Beverly. It was.
Oh, yeah. No, whenever I do these design summits and we have a talent show, I always show it. And,
Fun. Yeah, great way to kind of, great icebreaker too, right?
Yeah. And I have to admit, it was funny because when you asked, would you like to do a podcast with Sharing Wheel, I assumed it would be something about my work, because, a lot of times people are interested because it's, it's international development and I think we're doing some cool stuff in, particularly in the refugee camps in Uganda. And so I was like, okay, I can do that. And then you're like, let's talk about the Muppets. And I was like, well, that's going to be a lot easier, isn't it?
Right. Yeah. But they are kind of related in a way, in a sense,
I mean, the way that the things that I try to bring into my work are this collaboration, the community. I try to have people have fun as they do the
themes
work,
of the Muppets,
the inclusion, et cetera.
Exactly.
No,
So it's powerful.
No, and I think that there are times in our lives when we're like, we need a little bit of the Muppets.
Absolutely, yes.
And this is a good time.
Now more than ever. So
So maybe this is a good chance to plug for people. Like, there's some great YouTube videos where they do particular songs. There's the whole Muppet shows are available either on online, or I think they're streamed on Disney. There's a lot of Muppet movies out there. So if you're having a rough day, go find some Muppets.
Yeah. And it'd be nice actually to have, like you have, an entourage as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So cool. So maybe in the future we'll have to have more of your Muppet merchandise come and show and talk more about it.
Anytime.
So good fun. Well, thanks a million, Amy, for coming on. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
And, enjoyed it. And well, thanks very much. This has been the Sharing Wheel.
Great. Thanks, Sean, for having me.
Sure, pleasure. Cheers.
Bye. Have a good day.
Good fun.
Okay.
Thanks, Amy. That was